And one of the showstoppers, at least in my view, is this fabulous Jaguar behind us. Will you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, this is a Mark II saloon that we restored, re-engineered for Ian Callum, the design director at Jaguar. He came to us probably 3 years ago with this idea that he'd had from his boyhood that the Mark II could be restyled, and I think he first drew one when he was 13 or 14. And he had this vision of, a car without any bumpers on it and light and, basically for racing. And I mean, that's what Ian enjoys doing, is playing with cars and modifying them. And it took about 12 months to get a project together or a design scheme together for him.
Right.
And it's taken 2+ years to actually build the car the way he wanted it. All the brakes and suspension are from Jaguar. Mm-hmm. They're more modern Jaguar components.
Right.
The independent rear suspension we've designed in-house, because originally the Mark II had a solid rear axle, which was one of its Achilles heels from as far as handling goes. So we designed a fully independent rear suspension, which is here on display. And then at the front of the car, originally they used a steering box, but we've designed a steering rack, which improves the steering dramatically.
Boxes were always a little bit. You had free play issues with steering boxes, as I recollect.
That's right. Well, all steering boxes have in the centre when you're going straight along, you're always adjusting the steering wheel.
Film driving, basically.
Yeah. Whereas a steering rack's much more precise.
Sure.
You turn into corners much better, and we've relocated the front axle as well into the chassis, and the car is about 20 mil lower than a standard.
It's enough to make a difference. What was the biggest mechanical challenge that you faced in getting all of that to fit into the body shell?
Well, once we got the independent rear suspension done and the steering geometry sorted out, was then altering the weight distribution on the car, because originally the Mark II had 60% of its weight over the front axle and 40 at the back. So we've transferred a lot of weight from the front of the car into the back. So we've now got 54% over the front axle and 46% over the rear. So it's much more evenly balanced.
Pretty enviable then.
It is. It's, we were aiming for 50%, but we knew we weren't going to get there.
The thing that almost overwhelmed me, first of all, is just smell of leather. It feels absolute quality.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Everything in the car's leather, the seats, the door casings, all around here. It's Alcantara headlining. Obviously, the original Mark IIs, the only bits that were leather were the seat covers. Everything else was vinyl, so it's much more luxurious.
Wonderful.
And this is the wood that Ian chose, the veneer, which is a straight-grained oak, and then it's stained black with piano black edging on it.
The thing that
looks much more
me,
modern.
It's just the level of detail. Even the switchgear. I remember the old, sort of bakelite switches. These. It pays homage to the original, but I can see how it's so much more up to date.
It's just much more craftsmanship involved, and Ian designed his own logo, the IC badge.
Wonderful.
And all these clock faces were Ian's design.
And a motor-liter wheel to top it off as well.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a reverse camera and sat nav, and
so it truly is up to date. Now I see you've still got the wind-up windows there.
Yeah, he didn't want electric windows.
Fair enough.
One of the sort of design aspects was to keep the car as light as possible.
Right.
The seat you're sat in is an Italian design frame, and then we've covered it and trimmed it. Originally, Ian was going to get a seat from a modern Jaguar XK.
That's the temptation, I guess.
Yeah. But when he found out that it took two blokes to carry one seat, it wasn't within the design spec, because we were trying to lighten the car, not make it heavier.
Of course.
And these seat frames, they're all manually operated, not electrically operated. There's no airbags in them.
Yep.
And they're half the weight of the original Jaguar seat.
What sort of power to weight ratio do you reckon the car's got then?
It's something we haven't worked out. I mean, the engine's developing 280 foot-pounds of torque.
Okay.
So you can, and it comes in from sort of 1500 RPM, so you can put this in fifth gear at 40 miles an hour, and you can accelerate right through to 130.
Like a train then.
Yeah, it's like a steam train.
It's incredibly tidy.
It's very clean and quite minimalistic. If you look under the bonnet of an original Mark II, there's all the ancillaries over there. Would have been the battery.
Yeah, absolutely.
All this would have been fuse boxes, wiring harness, which is now all removed, and a lot of it is the batteries in the boot of the car. And it's the main reason was to reduce heat soak. You know, as the engine gets hot, so all the ancillary components get hot. So by removing them, it reduces the underbonnet temperatures dramatically, and we're taking air out through the side of the
Oh, I see. You've got a great big
wall
cutout
here,
there, haven't you?
and that's what the vents are for in the wings. So that as you're going
So
along,
they really are functional.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a low pressure spot here as you're travelling along, and it draws hot air out, so it keeps the engine compartment much cooler.
You know, the thing that fascinates me about this car so much, I expected to find a completely different power plant under the bonnet, you know, shoehorned in, and yet
Yeah.
this is
This is
it's
Jaguar.
so right,
This
isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. It's mechanical. Even though the car drives and handles like a modern car, it's
Yep.
you've still got the mechanical connection,
Yep.
which you don't have with modern cars because they're so anaesthetised. You know, anybody
know
can
what you
drive
mean.
a modern car.
Yes.
You know, it still feels like you're in control of a mechanical piece of machinery.
I love the big SU stuck on it as well. That's superb.
This was going to be a one-off,
Mhm.
just for Ian. But when we launched the car, there was so much interest from around the world that Ian's allowing us to build another 11 of them.
That's
So
fantastic.
there'll be 12 cars in total.
So if you had to profile the sort of person that's going to buy one of these, I mean, I imagine it's going to carry the price that reflects the workmanship and the time that goes into it. Do you have a typical client or not?
Well, obviously they're going to be what we call a petrol head, someone who
Sure.
enjoys motor cars. No, I don't think there'll be a typical client. It's just somebody who enjoys classic cars with a modern twist, you know.
So it's not even a generational thing. You get someone perhaps in their 30s or 40s that's sort of too young to remember the original.
I think it is, because since we launched the car, we've had teenagers emailing us for brochures of the car.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Which is, it's great that the younger generation can appreciate what Ian's trying to do.
It's the ultimate accolade,
and
isn't
for
it?
a 15-year-old boy to call in and want a brochure to stick on his wall or whatever is fantastic as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.